Hey everyone, it's Dr. Zora here and welcome to another SkillCapped guide. Today we're going to be reviewing 5 common mistakes that many players make when using rifles such as the Phantom and Vandal. We have looked at players of all skill levels to show the common habits that many people have on the rifles that could be detrimental to your play. By the end of this guide, you'll have learned what these mistakes are, tips and tricks on how to fix these mistakes, and the right way to use rifles so you can win more of your aim duels and get more kills. But before we get into that, we're excited to announce our brand new hyper improved platform specifically designed to help you improve fast. At SkillCapped.com, you'll finally learn how to level up your aim, different techniques to win gunfights, and so much more. We have professional courses on every single agent, map, and mechanic in Valorant. This is backed up by the top pros, players, and coaches to make sure you are getting the most up-to-date and accurate information possible. In fact, we're so confident that you'll improve using our system that we offer a rank improvement guarantee. Check it out yourself in the link below. Simply put in what rank you're currently at and find out what rank you're guaranteed by using our system. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your true potential and get the rank you've always wanted at SkillCapped.com, link in the description below. Alright, enough for the hype, let's jump right into the video. Going right into our first mistake that several players make when using rifles is not selecting the right rifle for their playstyle. Many players don't really differentiate between the Phantom and Vandal in particular. They're the same price and are relatively similar to one another, so many players will tend to play with these two weapons the exact same way. However, there are minute differences in the two guns that result in these two rifles being best used for different situations. Now, prior to the recent patch, the Phantom was hands down the better rifle due to its faster firing rate and easier to control spray pattern, and the Vandal lagged behind with its inferior firing rate and increased recoil. But it did have one positive aspect going for it, which was that it could one-shot headshot at all ranges. Since patch 1.07, the gap between the two rifles has become much narrower. But there are still differences that can make one rifle a better choice than the other depending on certain situations and the way you like to play. For example, despite the buffs that were recently added to the Vandal, the Phantom continues to have a faster firing rate and an easier to control spray pattern. The biggest con to the Phantom is the damage drop off as enemies get further and further away. This makes the Phantom really good at close and mid ranges, but at longer ranges it falls off. So if you're the kind of player that enjoys spraying and likes to get pretty aggressive and up close and personal with enemies, the Phantom would definitely be the right choice for you. Also, if you're a player that's still trying to get used to the shooting mechanics in Valorant and want to ease your way into how to spray and control recoil with rifles, the Phantom would be the weapon of choice to help you learn those mechanics. Meanwhile, the Vandal has been updated to have a faster firing rate and damage buff, which has closed the gap between it and the Phantom. The firing rate is the biggest buff that's been added, but the additional 1 damage to body shots is also crucial to note. We suspect that Riot has crunched the numbers to show that this extra point of damage will help to kill players that are lower in health, such as when players are left with 80 health, which can happen from 2 body shots from the Phantom and Bulldog, and now a Vandal player can now kill that enemy with another 2 shots. Despite these changes though, it's important to note that the recoil has stayed the same and is still difficult to control on the Vandal. At close ranges, you'll still want to spray, but at middle to long ranges, you'll want to start the burst fire and single fire to decrease the amount of recoil you have to deal with. So if you're the type of player who enjoys getting to long range engagements and firing in bursts and taps rather than sprays, then the Vandal would definitely be your weapon of choice. Along with that, if you are a player who feels really confident in their aim and believes they can get headshots in the first few bullets, then the Vandal would be the better choice for you as well. This is the reason that you'll likely see a lot more Phantoms used in lower ranked players versus high ranked players like Hiko and Tens, where you may see them using the Vandal more because they are confident they can get that headshot in the initial 3 to 5 bullets regardless of how far away the enemy is. This second mistake pertains more to newer players, but even some moderately high ranked players can fall into this trap, which is relying too much on your crosshair to do the aim for you. If you've never played an iteration of Counter-Strike before, you're probably used to games where the recoil for weapons is fairly low, and the crosshair usually does a good job of helping you track where your bullets will hit. With Valorant though, the recoil for rifles is extremely high. It's so high that the crosshair actually does not follow where your bullets are going to hit the majority of the time. And I've seen many players complain that they believe they should be hitting their shots. But when I go into their VOD and see how they're spraying with their rifle, they're trying to get their crosshair onto the player's head throughout the spray. You can get away with this for maybe the first 1 to 3 bullets, but if those shots don't land, the rifle recoil will actually go higher than the crosshair moves, and thus if you try to follow it from that point forward, you'll miss your shots. Usually what you'll notice is that after the first couple of bullets, your shots will actually land above where your crosshair is at. Again, this is due to the high level of recoil that both the Phantom and Vandal have, which causes the rifles to act in this manner. In order to fix this issue and improve your aim with rifles, you want to aim the crosshair lower than you think you need to in order for your shots to actually hit. So follow the crosshair initially when shooting with rifles, but once you start spraying, you'll need to pull the crosshair further down than the area that you're trying to hit to land your shots. The third mistake that I see many players making when using the rifles, and this goes right along with mistake number 3, is not learning the recoil pattern of the rifles. Every rifle has a certain recoil pattern, and learning what that recoil pattern is will allow you to control the rifle better and shoot more precise shots at enemies. To repeat, many players think that they can just follow the crosshair movement, and that will get them to quote unquote control the recoil. This mistake leads them to missing their shots though. For mistake number 2, the crosshair is not reliable to completely follow after the first few bullets. Also, after the first 10 or so bullets, the recoil starts to swerve to the left and right. If you aren't aware of this, you won't have any idea of how to move your mouse during the spray, and again, you'll miss your shots. For many of the rifles such as the Phantom and Vandal, there is a spray pattern that you should learn. The general pattern that you will see is that the first initial bullets recoil upwards, and then it will recoil to the left for a couple of bullets, and lastly it will recoil to the right to end the spray pattern. Now, knowing this information, to control the spray properly, you should focus on counteracting this pattern rather than following where your crosshair is moving. Since the recoil pattern usually goes up, to the left, and then to the right, you just have to do the opposite. So start off by pulling your mouse straight down, and after a couple of bullets go to the right, and then lastly go to the left to finish the recoil pattern. By practicing this spray pattern, you'll be able to get the control that you need to aim better with the rifles. Now with all that being said, we now know the spray pattern and how to control it, but it's important to understand that there is some randomness involved in these spray patterns. The initial upward pattern is pretty consistent, but there is a small bit of randomization there. After the first 10 or so bullets where the spray pattern deviates from vertical, the spray starts to be a lot more inconsistent and will differ from one another. Sometimes you might get more bullets going left before it changes direction, or sometimes a small number of bullets go right before going left. There are also other random patterns that could end up happening the more you spray. Because of this inconsistency, it's not completely reliable to try to master the complete spray pattern. What is more consistent though is the initial upward recoil. I suggest most players try to focus more on controlling the initial bullets and learning to pull down on those shots. This will allow you to be the most accurate, and if nailed down, you should be able to get a kill with those initial bullets before you have to control a relatively random spray. Mistake number 4 that many players can make is spraying at all ranges. At close range, enemy models are incredibly big, so it's a no-brainer that you'd want to spray at this large target to give yourself the biggest chance of hitting your shots. However, the further the enemy is, the smaller this target will appear on your screen, making them harder to hit. The recoil does not change regardless of distance, so dealing with this high rifle recoil can be tricky when you're in a medium range engagement or long range engagement. To give you an idea of what these ranges look like, an example of a medium range gunfight would be firing at an enemy from B links to cat on ascent. At this range, you'll want to spray in bursts of no more than 6 to 9 bullets. Beyond this, the bullets start to deviate left and right, and this pattern is tough to control properly at medium range. So fire a couple of bullets, then stop, let the recoil reset, and then fire again. An example of a long range engagement is from top mid to bottom mid on ascent. At this range, the enemy models are much smaller compared to close range, making them hard to hit while also trying to control the crazy rifle spray pattern. Similarly to medium range, you'll want to shoot in bursts here as well. You don't want to deal with the randomness of the spray pattern later on, as it's already hard enough to hit enemies this far away. These bullets again will help you stay as accurate as possible. If you end up missing the burst, I would stop shooting and then change position and counter straight before shooting again. This helps to make you an even harder target for the enemy, while also helping you reset the recoil and be able to fire those accurate burst shots rather than an inaccurate spray. If the bursts are difficult to do at long range, another great option is tapping one bullet at a time and then letting the recoil reset before tapping again. This is called single firing. With this technique, you ensure that every bullet will hit where your crosshair is, and you're going for quality over quantity to kill your enemies. Bursting and single firing are your go-to techniques with long range aiming, as they give you a better chance of hitting your shots. So if you're long range, take that extra second to get your aim together and hit those bursts and taps, versus spraying wildly where the recoil will be incredibly hard to control at that distance. Lastly, going into our fifth most common mistake players will make is aiming down sights too much. This is a mistake that makes sense initially on paper. With all the rifles, you can right click to zoom in and be able to see enemies more clearly that are further away. So this should allow you to get the kill earlier, right? What ends up happening are two things when you aim down sights though, particularly with the Phantom and Vandal. First is that the firing rate decreases. So by aiming down sights, the slower firing rate will make it take longer for you to get those kills. The second thing that occurs when you aim down sights is that this slower rate of fire and zoom in causes the recoil to feel a lot more difficult to control. Especially if you're more used to shooting rifles without aiming down sights, the spray pattern when you do aim down sights will feel very off. The first bullets can feel satisfying if you hit them, but once you get past that shot, the spray is very difficult to control. At the professional level, you'll rarely see any players aiming down sights. This is because they want to take advantage of the higher firing rate when you don't use it, plus the recoil is easier to control, and with greater practice, firing without aiming down sights actually feels a lot better than actually using the sights, regardless if a player is in a close range or longer range. The one situation where aiming down sights can be pretty useful is if a player is really far away and you want to try to kill him by single firing to be more accurate. And then the extra zoom can assist you with the aiming. But as a rule of thumb, most situations you'll want to aim at someone without the sights to take advantage of the easier to control recoil and higher firing rate. And remember, if you want to improve, win more gunfights, and get the rank you've always wanted, then check out SkillCapped.com, link in the description below. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. I'm Dr. Zora, and good luck out there.